Hello everybody, and welcome to another video. The past 2 days we never had a video up, however, the streams and visual would have still been going on, so hopefully you guys have been able to tune in for those. I do apologise on the YouTube side of things, but that means I got quite a few days worth of stuff to sum up for you all, as it does basically mean that now it's 1 week, a little over a week actually, since Heart of Thorns did release. So a damn long week in my opinion, actually, at that. And I'm quite happy that coming out of the first week, I still feel like I have so much to do. All these things I've talked to you in previous videos about that I haven't even started yet. It's still basically 100% sure I haven't tried Halloween, Fractals, or multiple other things. So actually on the idea of Fractals, as you've seen in the title, there is one kind of big thing I want to talk to you guys about. And that's the idea of things you can do daily in the game now. And things that I have completely missed out on that I thought I should tell you guys about too, in case you might get a little bit disappointed you've been missing certain things as well. And that's the fact that with Heart of Thorns, they brought a bunch of new systems into the game that, you know, you can only do once. You can only make a little bit of progress, and then you want to do it the next day and the next day. What this kind of means is that, though I really don't like encouraging this kind of experience, you know, we should all just feel free to play and do whatever we want, there are some things you might want to make it worth your while just going to do at least once when you get onto Heart of Thorns before you go off to do whatever else, because then you know that you've got it complete. And so, what am I talking about here? Well, earlier in the week, I mentioned just the idea of regular dailies, right? That at the end of the day, for the past year or so, we have been stuck with this game with very little means of getting more achievement points. There is a really classy, really badass weapon set available for very high achievement point people called Pinnacle Weapons. And with Heart of Thorns, they released tons more AP. That's true, so a lot of people can push up higher. But don't forget that we have all been like desperate and really going for those 10 AP for so long. Try not to, like me, forget that those dailies actually exist. ArenaNet changed the system for dailies a while ago. When the daily system first came out, both dailies and monthlies, I believe, were kind of designed to be things that you just accidentally got, right? Like, if you played the game, they were designed in such a way that they themselves weren't content. They were like a way of rewarding you for just playing. So they were deliberately really vague, generic things that you just accidentally do. And then they changed it. And they changed it to another idea, which is now that they are targeted things you do. So the daily system kind of becomes incentive for specific content. So what this means is I haven't accidentally got any of those while playing in the jungle. I'd actually have to take my time to return to, say, Ascalon to get some gathering stuff, right, for example, or to play a specific class in PvP, or what have you. So, with that change, it does mean that I've missed quite a few, but I talked about that earlier on in the week. That's really not what I'm getting at here with Heart of Thorns. The big shock for me came specifically with Fractals, and this is, of course, the fact that though more Fractal changes are pending, they talked about the whole Fractal leaderboard thing and the stuff that will be coming in the future, we can now get to scale 100 Fractals, and we can get a legendary back piece from Fractals. Yeah, the 3 legendary weapons aren't available, but the legendary back piece from Fractals is totally available, and there's a reason you haven't seen anyone with just an immense amount of immediate resources get it straight away, and that's because some of it's time-gated. I actually have no problem whatsoever with this. This is one of those funny things that people get very up in arms about. But basically, you need to go through multiple tiers of collections, and some of the items you can only get once per day. So this literally means I've got guildies of mine who just decided to spend all their time so far in Heart of Thorns playing Fractals, a decision I cannot understand, as Fractals is, even though there's higher scales, let's be honest, it's still content you've ran tons of before. But, you know, each to their own, but because they have ran these Fractals, they've now got, you know, lots of these items, 7 of these items, 6 of these items, however many, that I'm like that many days behind. And so that's a pretty interesting thing I never really thought about, and now I'm thinking, oh, should I be doing Fractals or not? I'm wondering what you guys think of that kind of design, but do remember yourselves, you know, if you want that legendary back piece, that is something you could do. Just run one of the daily Fractals, an easy Fractal. They're very quick now, because they're only one island. You just do that, get out of the way of, and then go off do your other stuff. But there's more than that too in Heart of Thorns. There's a lot of little things. There's a system in the Tangled Depths in which you can buy little lore books. You can only buy 1 lore book a day to slowly fill out these big collections of lore books. There's a lot of fun little things like that, but you want to remember to go each time. Something I've definitely not been doing, but a little bit of advice for you guys to maybe look into. So, what has been occupying my time the past couple of days, I did mention the stream at the start of this video, a lot of Tangled Depths. This meta event has slowly unraveled, slowly been revealed to me, and slowly become apparent that it is a very difficult beast. I will be having like a dedicated video on it. I've done a lot of talks, learned a lot about the event, but ultimately have been unsuccessful every time I've tried it. I was talking earlier in the week about how I really wanted, with Yorick Base and with Verdant Brink, to have like a higher tuned meta event, more like the real Triple Trouble difficulty. This is totally that. I'm being reminded of all kinds of little positive and negative things about the way Triple Trouble was ran. I believe on the stream so far we've had like 5 major attempts to actually take out this boss. All of them have ultimately failed. And while I personally feel like I've learned a lot more about the event, its mechanics, and there certainly are a lot of them, and how difficultly this thing is tuned, and seen some progress, I'm not seeing Zergs en masse also kind of experience that. It's like we seem to get the same point each time now, and that's a little bit of a shame. What you've got to remember, guys, is when you take big open world fights like this, and when you have stuff that's so difficult, a lot of people aren't trying it. I can only let like 150 to 200 people into a single instance to practice it at any one time. I can only teach through the stream about 150 people who are actually going to get in real world experience of doing the event, and those people basically aren't going to want to wait 2 hours for the next pop of the event, and a lot of them end up disappearing. They go away. So you kind of get 150 people in, they learn it a bit better, but then, the next time you try the event, you've got like the majority of people that you have are all complete newbies again, are all people who have no idea what's going on. And that means people who are trying to organize stuff, like I've been doing, we have to go over the same information again and again and again, and it's quite tedious to try and do alone, and it's quite demotivating as well when you fail an attempt and you know, if we could just try it again with this 150 people, then we'd be fine, right? We could do it again, these people would get practice, but you just know that's just not going to happen. So, yeah, some of the frustrations from Triple Trouble have definitely come back. I still very much enjoy the tuning, though. I like the push for it. I just think that doing it like in a Twitch scenario probably isn't the best way to do it. Doing like a group of really dedicated players who are willing to spend, 6 hours for a meager 3 attempts at the boss. If you can get that kind of community going, then maybe you can make some more progress. I definitely do think these events can exist as difficult as they are. It's just that there's a lot of problems when you bring them into the open world. I think those problems would be alleviated with 3 simple changes. Well, maybe not simple, but 3 changes. Number 1, the cooldown for big events. If you're going to tune them as difficult as this, the cooldown needs to be lower. An hour cooldown is ample. 2-hour cooldown? That's the difference from having 6 valid attempts to just 3 over a 6-hour period of time, which is more than most reasonable people can dedicate into a video game at all, right? So a much shorter cooldown, an hour cooldown, I think it would feel a lot better. I think obviously many issues with mega servers getting filled up have reared their head. Not only is it a real pain for people to get into the damn map, but you have issues like I've had multiple times, like everyone has, where we accidentally crash out because of unrelated Heart of Thorns or, just Guild Wars 2 errors, and then your heart drops because you're like, wow, I just spent hours waiting around, learning this event, setting my build up, getting ready, standing by a commander, or teaching everyone in my case, and then you get booted out of the map, and there's that horrible fear and likely scenario that you'll never get back in. This issue could be fixed with proper queuing. ArenaNet figured out how to do proper queuing when it comes to queuing for world versus world maps. Why hasn't that been implemented to PvE? I don't know. There used to be kind of a fake queue system, or a queue system that was just so completely broken it did nothing back in the game at launch for overflows. Why can't they look into bringing one of those back? I think that would improve a lot of things. And the third change, so really what I'm talking about is lower cooldowns, adding proper queuing for PvE maps, and then the third thing is ArenaNet did put infrastructure in the game to allow guilds to pop world bosses. They did that, but then they didn't expand on that system. Yeah, same old story that we hear from so many different areas of the game. They have this in place. Guilds should, in theory, be able to use world boss consumables to pop stuff like the Tyria event, or to be able to pop stuff like the Tangled Debt one, specifically maybe Dragon Stand. The Dragon Stand's far easier. News came out today that people have beat Dragon Stand in just 6 minutes, while I have not heard of a single group ever clearing the Tangled Depths. That's kind of the tuning difference we're talking about here. So it seems like Tangled Depths really is the big major one. It's just having, some problems. They've been in the game for a long time. Those would be my 3 fixes. That would allow organized groups to continuously try it again and again at a cost, okay, obviously, of their currencies and so on to be able to get these world boss consumables, as well as allow much more casual groups like people doing it on streams to be able to try as well. And I think it really would be perfect. It's a great event. It's super fun, and I can't wait to do a dedicated video on it when we finally clear it for you guys. Moving on, what else has been occupying my time? That's mostly just been on the streams. I was very happy to see something about Masteries. This was pretty awesome, and I'm in a way eating my hat here in a very, very good way. Before launch, and specifically through the betas, I was talking about the mastery system. And specifically, I wasn't complaining about grind, I wasn't complaining they were taking too long. If anything, I was saying I was hoping they didn't take too little time. But specifically, I was talking about a mechanic associated with masteries, and that's the idea of the mastery points. The idea that you have to spend points to unlock masteries. And I talked to you guys about what I believe makes a currency valid in an MMO, or in any game, a currency valid. And I believe that a currency becomes an actual part of the gameplay when you have a moment that you don't have enough of that currency to get something you want. Right, so gold is a great example. When you first start playing Guild Wars 2, you see your mate with a Bifrost, and you're like, damn, I really want that for my Rainbow Pony Master. How much does that cost? Oh, wow, I don't have enough money. Boom, suddenly you're interested in gold, you do things to earn gold. It's a valid currency, it's impacted your gameplay. Same thing with karma. You know, you see the, then you get the money for Bifrost, but you realize, oh, damn, I need a lot of karma for obsidian shards. Boom, now you're suddenly focusing on that, right? That's what makes it valid to me. And the thing with masteries was the mastery points to unlock further masteries didn't seem like a real currency. It just seemed like you got so many mastery points so quickly that, I mean, who would ever have that moment where they didn't have enough? Well, I've had that moment. Maybe it's just because I've spent a lot of time pushing certain meta events. Maybe it's because I'm being quite narrow and going for very specific achievements. Maybe it's because I haven't been trying that hard to see a wide variety of adventures and excel in them. But I have absolutely gotten to a point now, or maybe it's my boosters as well, right? Because I got a lot of boosters, I get a lot more experience. I am at a point where I don't just need a few mastery points, I need a lot of mastery points. Like, I was at 0 mastery points, and I needed like 8 to be able to buy the next thing. This was fantastic. This made me really happy. It's nice to see that they actually did become a mechanic. I still question how late game that it became a mechanic for me. And I do think that a lot of players who don't have boosters, who do like the adventures, who are far more motivated by world completion than I am, probably will never experience it being a mechanic, but at least I did. And especially with respect to my worries before the game came out, I thought it was fair enough to actually talk about it on a video and let you guys know, no, look, this actually was a thing. And, you know, I was wrong to worry about it, which is pretty cool. Speaking on Masteries a little as well, even though my Masteries haven't pushed a lot further now, you know, I'm in some of the last tiers for a lot of them, I'm still really experiencing this Metroidvania thing. There are so many places, jumping puzzles and daily rewards and just general areas I can't access, boss fights that I'd be doing better in if I had higher Masteries, all over the place. Those changes to some of the Mastery gates that ArenaNet made earlier in the week to help people with hero challenges certainly hasn't impacted that. I'm still getting a big feeling of that, and I'm feeling very rewarded. So a big example recently was I trained Nuhawk stealth detection. And now I can see invisible enemies. If you guys have ever been running around the Heart of Thorns maps and you've randomly got in combat and you've been like, what is this? This is annoying. You basically hit a stealthed mob. Okay, and so there are achievements in the different maps to find sneaky hidden treasure mushrooms. And these have been fantastic experiences. So you realize now that there are these invisible mushrooms running around. They never fight back. They just run around zigzagging all over the place. So you couldn't accidentally kill one. They're incredibly tanky. Unless you have the stealth detection, you basically can't do anything to these things. But you get these really cool experiences now where you see them and you run around, and if you manage to hit them, if you manage to do damage to them, you can get mastery points. So then those mastery points I care about for unlocking new stuff. It's been a really fascinating experience, even just on a personal level like that, like you'd expect with, you know, any single-player RPG that does this kind of gating system. But also, it's with the stealth stuff, it's been really interesting, actually, how it works as an MMO. And this is something I never really thought about for Masteries, but you know, there's this awesome experience you can have in Guild Wars 2 now where, because not everyone has everything maxed out, I was in Verdant Brink and there was a treasure mushroom who I wanted to kill. This would help me get one of my elite specialization collections done so I could get a badass Ascended Warhorn, so I wanted to do it. I had the incentive to go there. I found it. And these things are quite rare. It's cool moments when you see them. I tagged up and said, guys, there's a hidden treasure mushroom here. You'll need Nuhawk detection if you want to fight it. Tagged up, and a bunch of people came over because these things are very tanky. And it seems a lot of people ignored what I said when I said you need Nuhawk stealth detection. Because we had a group of people there, and, you know, only a handful were actually fighting the mushroom. Everyone else is stood around like, what are these guys doing? And from their perspective, on their client, they're just seeing people randomly DPS thin air. And it's like, what are they attacking? And because the treasure mushroom moves around so much, they can't really contribute viably. And they're just stood there to kind of scratch their temple and walk off. And they're going to get a really cool moment later on where they get the stealth detection. And they're like, oh my god, I see it now. You know, that MMO interaction there really does make the system feel really fun sometimes. On the stream, I've ran people into giant, toxified, poisoned caves, and I've been okay because I've trained with the Itzel. And then I turn around and I see, you know, we've got a Zerg of 60 guys back there, and 30 of them are just dead, floating in the water. because they didn't have Poison Mastery, and I'm like, oh dear, whoops, I'm sorry, everyone. And you just get these cool, like, social moments, and I think that's definitely what Guild Wars 2 needed more of. Been one of the more fun things about Hearthstones. I never really thought that I'd be experiencing so much. Last example, actually, of the Masteries thing, and this ties me into Verdant Brink a little, is I was playing more in Verdant Brink at the night time, and I did finally kill the 5th of 5 bosses that appear up in the canopy. This was the Axe Master, and so the Masteries are interacting really well with those bosses too. This guy, you'll fight him, and then after a little while, he'll blink far away, somewhere random, far away, and he'll stealth. So unless you have Nuhawk's stealth detection, you don't know where he blinked to, so you don't know where to damage or CC or anything. Then he gets a break bar, and if you don't break that break bar in like 10 seconds, then he nukes everyone. And so it's actually this really cool moment then where those people with the stealth detection are specifically running certain builds because they have stealth detection that have a lot of CC so that they can break the break bars and save everyone else's lives. And then the people who can't see where the Axe Master disappeared to have got to kind of watch for those few players in the group that do have stealth detection. Okay, and, that's been a really cool way of seeing how the Masteries can interact with boss fights, and it's been very fun to me. I think you can have that early game perspective of it's like, oh, this just sucks. This is a hard gate. You can't kill the Axe Master without a Mastery. But now that a few people have started getting them, it's just made it really fun content. And I kind of regret, actually, that, in a couple of months, honestly, everyone's going to have stealth detection, or the majority of players will. And a lot of these cool moments will be lost. So do try and get them in while you can, basically, in these early days. Now, there is an idea, though, that could bring that experience back, and I'm curious what you guys think of this. I'm curious about what a lot of you guys have to say today. But so the stealth detection thing, right? It is such a good mechanic. It's so fun to see that interaction between some people having it, some people not having it. I've been wondering, of course, many people have been wondering this, where Masteries are going in the future. They said they were going to add more Masteries in with Living World updates, and presumably future expansions will have them as well. Remember, Heart of Thorns is paving the way. 2 big systems, right? Masteries, Elite Specializations. You guys will have heard me a long time ago, and I think the community in general, we were all far more excited about the Elite Specializations than the Masteries. And when it came to speculating about further Elite Specializations, it was far easier than it was to speculate about further Masteries. But here's an interesting idea. How would you guys feel if when we get to go to, say, I don't know, the Blood Legion homelands, okay, that you basically have a copy-paste of one of these Masteries again? I think that the stealth detection thing is fun enough that I want to keep having those experiences I just talked about, even in future expansions. So I don't think I'd mind. All right, let's say it's the Ash Legion homelands, right? So you train with the Ash Legion, and then eventually when you get high enough mastery with the Ash Legion in this future expansion, that allows you to see stealth Ash Legion scouts. Exactly the same thing that we've had here in the jungle. But, so, do you guys think that's good? Do you think that they could do that just because it introduces fun gameplay? Or do you think people would in general be like, oh no, that sucks. We've already seen that mastery in the jungle. They've ran out of inspiration. I do wonder what you guys think about that, because I absolutely wouldn't mind, but I can totally see people worrying about kind of the copy-paste nature of that. Do we only ever want purely new masteries or what? But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I've been going for a lot more achievements. There is a system I found out in Auric Basin, where there's an achievement where you go to lots of different areas to collect lore, and it's kind of like they've done a quest chain, and then when you finish that achievement, it unlocks another achievement which encourages you to do the same. So it's almost like you get a secondary quest, and then you complete it, and then you get another quest after it, kind of thing, which I definitely want to try out. I've done some fun achievements like finding a golden chicken, like playing with a lot more of the adventures. Still tons of time left in the jungle. It's been over a week. I haven't even tried the 4th map yet. That spells good things for me. It kind of puts us in that dream scenario, I think, where, give it another 2 weeks. I've still got a lot to do. I'm still playing. And then PvP divisions come out. And raids come out. And then I would spend a lot of time playing those raids. And hopefully I've still got a lot to do. And see the next season of Living World comes out. My biggest fear has been people flooding away from the game. Like they finish it really quickly and they just leave. I'm not seeing that. And ArenaNet, as long as they get their next patches out pretty soon, I think they could really capture a lot of people. Even, when the boat gets rocked by the tidal waves or Fallout 4's release, maybe some people will still think, oh yeah, raids are out actually. Now that I'm done with Fallout 4, I'll go check it out. Anyway, I'd love to hear what you guys thought about just your first week in general, Heart of Thorns. As you can tell, I'm very enthusiastic about it. To be clear, there were some things I really didn't like, mainly when it comes to the story. But so far, I think it's been an absolutely fantastic experience, and I'd love to hear maybe some of the more neutral comments down below. That could be nice to balance out my discussions here. But yeah, as always, guys, thank you very much for watching. I'll have some more targeted guides very soon coming out and talk about lots of giveaways. So tune in for that. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and I'll see you next time.